Hello kindergarten, first and second grade friends. Today we are going to be working on some information and a new art project dealing with our state standard 8.1, which is Respond, and by the end of this project everybody should be able to identify and categorize the characteristics of art to understand things in art like mood. So let's get started. So right off the bat, what is it that you need to know? Well, art can convey a mood through an image using things called visual cues, and we'll talk about those more in a second, but color can also help you to feel certain things in artwork. Background knowledge of an artist and their history can also help you to feel certain things in the pictures that they've made or the sculptures that they've made. And how an artist chooses to show you a subject also conveys different meanings. How is mood created in art? The mood of a painting can be disturbing or tranquil, it could be dark or energetic, it could be happy or even sad. Visual cues, which are the things that you actually see in the picture or the artwork, they all kind of help to create the overall mood of a painting. This painting probably made quite a few of us think, summertime, warm, happy, and this painting probably made a few of us think of like cold weather or kind of gloomy and kind of sad maybe. One of the biggest things that artists can use in their artwork to convey mood to you, the person looking at it, is color. I'm going to put up some slides here in a second telling you what each different color kind of has to do with different moods. So pause them as you need to, read through them, because it's actually pretty interesting stuff in terms of how color can make you feel certain ways. Check them out. So in addition to things like color, you can also look at different visual cues such as body position. If you see any human beings, look at how their bodies are displayed. Typically, a head down is kind of sad, but a head up and looking forward or even up towards the sky is typically associated with strength and power. Other stuff that you could possibly think of is something in the middle of a picture. Having something right dead center in the middle is usually to emphasize it, and that means it's pretty much the thing that you recognize first when you look at a painting. That can also help affect the mood of the work. So the last thing that we could possibly be using for this project is your background knowledge. That just means, what do you already know? Let me give you an example. If I know that when I look out the window and I see a bunch of really gray clouds in the sky, that probably means it's going to rain or snow. If I'm looking at a painting with gray clouds, that tells me, I wonder, let's see, from past experience, I'm guessing that the mood of this is kind of foreshadowing something kind of darker, kind of tense, kind of like a lightning storm, a thunderstorm, rainstorm, something like that. And that all kind of helps to create a slightly more gloomy type mood to the artwork. So you don't have to write anything down for this next piece, but you do need to find somebody at your house that you can talk to, because you're going to look at this painting by Pablo Picasso called The Old Guitarist, and you're going to tell that person what exactly are you seeing in that painting, and specifically tell them what mood that painting feels like to you. I'm not going to tell you my answer to that Pablo Picasso question until the end of the video, but check out this painting by Vincent van Gogh, and you're going to use that same person. You're going to tell him the same things. What are you seeing, and what does the mood of this Van Gogh painting feel like to you? And go. Alright, Van Gogh answers are going to be at the end of the video as well, so you can come up with your own. But now you have a little mini activity that you can do with that person. If you have colors, use colors. Otherwise, you can just say colors, because what you're going to do is you're going to use that person that you've been talking to, and you're going to choose 4 emotions. Tell that person what color you would give each one of those emotions. I'll start you off with an example. If I was angry, I would think of the color red. If you have colors, color a little tiny piece of paper, like a little tiny square, and make that color match the emotion. If you don't have colors, no sweat. Just tell that person at home exactly what you think, and I'll meet you back here in a second. As promised, here are my example answers for those paintings. We'll start off with the Picasso one. Firstly, we see a lot of blue. There's a lot of blue happening in this picture, and we now know that blue can convey sadness. Also, the figure has his head hanging down low, and one of his hands is drooped across the guitar. He's shown as very thin and kind of frail looking, which is a visual cue that typically represents bad health. We can tell by the color that the figure in this painting is meant to be sad. And it may come as a little surprise that when Picasso painted this, he was actually dealing with depression in his own life. So that's why we see this painting, which is part of his blue painting series, which was being done in the very early 1900s. On to Van Gogh. We know that yellow conveys a sense of joy, and those little tiny bits of dark orange that you saw in that painting kind of make it feel warm. And nearly all the flowers in that picture are actually standing upright, which adds to a sense of warmth and happiness in the painting. The whole image is actually centered right there in the middle of the painting, top to bottom, and that adds a nice piece of weight to the flowers and the vase. Now for the fun stuff. You get to start your project. And you don't really need much to do this project, although things like paint or markers or colored pencils, crayons for color would be totally awesome. If you don't have those, that's okay. All you really need for this project are a pencil, something like a piece of paper that you could make a mark on, cardboard would do, sidewalk chalk out in the driveway would also work for this, and you may also need an eraser. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to create a picture, a drawing, whatever. Get creative, it can be any size, but you're going to show me a mood. So it might actually be a little bit helpful if you kind of wrote a few different things down for different moods that you might be feeling or you've already felt today. So let me write mine down and I'll give you an example. I wrote down 4 different things: happy, anxious, excited, and hungry. Hungry is not really a mood, it's just early in the morning and I haven't had breakfast yet. Happy is kind of generic, and I think I could be a little bit more specific with it. Anxious is a pretty good one, mostly just because I kind of want to go back to school at this point. But I think I'm going to end up using my third one on this list, excited. And I chose excited because, well, as you all know, I drink a lot of coffee, and I've had quite a bit of coffee this morning already, and I think excited would be fitting because all that coffee helps wake me up, get me excited about the day, but also the sun is shining outside, it's supposed to be warm, and I'm excited to go for a bike ride later this evening after work. So I'm going to move you down to my table so you can see what I'm going to be drawing as I try to show you through artwork how the mood of excited might look. I'm going to start with a basic light sketch, just kind of using some simple shapes. I'm going to think back to what we talked about earlier in terms of how, if I'm drawing a person, I can use the position of their body to help convey my mood or my emotion in my picture. So I'm going to start with kind of a refined version of a stick figure. And I want this person to somewhat resemble myself, and of course I want them to be smiling real big, looking super excited, but also holding a, you guessed it, cup of coffee, and I also want them to look like they're leaping in the air with joy. So I've started to give my stick figure some extra clothing. He's got the hoodie that I'm wearing as well as kind of the graphic on the t-shirt here. I got a lot of lines, and kind of once I use that stick figure, I can clean up those lines. Obviously, if you're not drawing a figure, you wouldn't have to worry about it, and really, that stick figure is a little bit more advanced than we might be wanting to do at home, so if you want to skip all that and just put your best effort into it, go ahead. But if you're curious and interested in learning to draw more cartoons and more realistic figures, this little stick figure guy might be a good way to start. So I'm going to erase all these lines that I no longer need, and then I'll add some legs and some hands in that coffee cup. There's my finished drawing. Obviously, if you had colors, you could add colors at this point. I am going to keep mine simple for those of you working at home with just a pencil and paper. That is an excited version of Mr. Brady. He's even got a little bit of coffee spilling out there. I drew some mountains with a road. Obviously, I'm not taller than mountains, but because I like to ride my bike in Kurt Gowdy up in the hills, I kind of tried to draw like an outside scene there. I drew the sun and I drew those big puffy clouds. I think big puffy clouds are typically associated with happiness, and I didn't want to draw any big super dark gray clouds. I didn't want it to look like it was going to rain or create kind of like a sense of gloom. I wanted everything to stay happy and light and somewhat excited, which hopefully comes through on my character's facial expression. He's got the big bulging, excited, surprised eyes, the mouth is wide open, and he is just like that Van Gogh picture, the central image in my paper, and he's also the largest thing, so we know that we should be looking at him. Again, your project could be anything that you wanted to make as long as it was your best attempt at showing a mood. I would love to see your projects when they're all done. If you wanted to, you could even write on the front or the back side what mood it was that you were trying to show, and you can send them to that email address right there. And I hope you had fun with this project. I hope everybody's staying healthy and staying safe, and I will see you again next time.